Fantastic. Thank you very much for the 4 speakers that have really kind of whetted our appetites, hopefully, in talking about some issues that, issues and challenges with regards to the new generation, the next generation, the now generation, the opportunities we have now for doing things differently and thinking about learning environments differently. And we've heard about both physical changes to environments, we've heard about virtual changes to environments, we've heard about the difficulties of humans actually making and managing that change. So there are a lot of challenges here. What I'd like to do now is to open to the floor to you to ask us and to ask each other some questions or some issues or any queries you have with regard to what you've just heard. So, over to you. If you just put up your hands, I'll know it's you, because I'm not using my computer. So.
Very quick question. You talked about open textbooks, but I'm also interested to know from Peter what plans are with open journal access for the library.
Well, in terms of?
Just research, available journal access.
I don't have the numbers, but we have a significant number of open access journals.
Great.
Any quality open access journal, we're inputting it into our collection of key resources, most certainly. And as you probably know, our own institutional repository is almost entirely open access, with the exception of some of the university press books, but only a few. So, we have something like 120,000 items of Hong Kong U created content, which is almost entirely open access.
Okay, just a follow-up question. I guess what we're looking for, what I'm asking is what is the library's stance on moving in that direction? How can the library assist in that movement to make access more easily available, cheaper?
Yeah, well, there are different models of open access. There's pure open access, or there's paid open access. So recently, for example, for the Springer journals, the Springer Science journals, we paid them, and sorry, I can't tell the figure because I can't remember it, but through the Knowledge Exchange Initiative, we received funding through Professor Bacon-Chong to experiment with Springer so that our faculty could publish in a Springer journal, open access journal, without charge. Without charge. Now, normally they charge, I think it's €1,500 per item to get that. Now that's one area. Now there are concerns from the faculty though that publishing in a journal where they have to pay to have it published raises questions of credibility and authority of that journal, and that's simply changing and evolving quickly. And I think we're having greater success with younger faculty who have been more accustomed to using open access journals, realising that there's quality in there, and therefore are more willing to publish within those open access journals.
I have a question with the Dr. Yan. I want to ask how many major publishers or the schools have supported this open textbook program? Because I think this is quite like open source software and commercial software, and so if those major publishers like Pearson don't support that the license because they want to make it permanent, so how would the schools want to follow this program? I thought that the research that you listed there is mostly community-based. So you can
Right. Can I first of all make a response to the previous question asked about open publishing, actually, academic publishing? That, like publishing of textbooks, is becoming a trend. It's people, scholars, researchers finding ridiculous paying with publishers for publishing their papers. I mean, it's not as bad as saying this is bribery. It's just a way of operation. people understand that they do the research work, that should be quality assured, reviewed properly. But then the publishers get all the profits out of it, and that has a bad effect on spreading knowledge as well. they have good quality work that's properly reviewed, but people have to pay a lot to have access. That's ridiculous. So they're beginning doing things on their own. If distribution of the printed copies would be an important part of the course, then why don't they just do it over the internet? This is costless. So in a similar way, the textbook publishers, some authors and teachers and so forth would find it ridiculous to say, well, we contributed the work, we want to share, but a lot of the things that publishers should do, I quote a very simple example of making available the e-version of the textbook. Publishers are just not doing it. You know why? Because if you can have a copy, your neighbor can get one very easily. She's very smart. Hong Kong people are particularly smart, and they can get their copies all over the place. And so, in terms of profitability, they have a problem. But I think that's a business model they have to rebuild and to think about. As educators, we very much like to have such versions. Our job is not to think of the business model, but to spread knowledge. Okay. Coming back to the question, would an open textbook system require the participation of established publishers? Well, if they'd like to join us, fine. The examples that I've quoted, Flag World Knowledge, that's an interesting publisher. They are for profit, but they provide the e-versions free of charge. What they charge is that if you want a print version, if you want to have hard copies, then that would cost you $49. If you want to have a paperback version, that's $30, so $29.99. So they have an interesting way of doing business in a less profit model. All right? Not the non-profit making model, but a less profit making model. And I think that is closer to the open publishing kind of situation. In our situation, like situation in California, where the famous Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was governor, he made this plan so that he said no children would be left without access to the textbooks. That's why they have this open platform. And the textbooks that's available over there, they are critically reviewed by users, by reviewers, by experts, so they are as good quality as others. I think for some time, this kind of open textbook has to be in existence with commercial textbooks, and users can have an option to choose. So nobody in Hong Kong would say textbook price is too high because they have an option.
So can I just briefly supplement what I said earlier, Brandon, that we, Hong Kong U, lobbied the UGC and the RGC, funding bodies here in Hong Kong, to mandate that any output, research output published should be in an open access journal or in an open access repository of the institution. The UGC, RGC wouldn't mandate, but passed a statement saying that they strongly recommend that that occur. Now, I think we are currently working with the Pro Vice Chancellor for Research here at Hong Kong U to at least get that mandated in Hong Kong U. We're not having a great deal of success yet.
I'm also burning to say something here, and this relates a little bit to the paradigm part. Sometimes there's so much in a system like a fishbowl that it's hard to see how it works. If we're being recorded, so I could be sued later, okay? And I'm not kidding, because if we look at the system that we're talking about, right now, any article that's in some kind of a reputable journal is likely to have cost way more than $1,500 because it is heavily, heavily, heavily subsidized. How? Whether you work at Hong Kong U, OUHK, Poly U, Harvard, MIT, or Cambridge, what are you really paid to do? Research. How is it measured? Largely by publications and the grants you get. What does that mean? Every paper that's submitted to a journal is done on the person's time out of their salary, and they're well-paid people that have gone to school for a long time, and they probably also, especially for scientists, got government money for a lab and hired other people to work full-time for them. So what is this model? Millions and billions of dollars are poured into articles that are then submitted for free to publications that then put the guise of legitimacy upon it by using a peer-reviewed process. And then they charge the libraries and individuals for paying for something that they got for free, although they had to process it. And one of the things I had down here was one kind of paradigm shift we're facing, and is happening right now, relate to copyright and legitimacy of knowledge. And I would say that for most of us, I go on Wikipedia multiple times every week. It's a great place to start. And we're used to peer-reviewed journals having people of your peer looking at it saying it's good enough. There are ways to peer review through open sources that I would say at a minimum are equally legitimate.
The great irony is that there's probably no library in the world that can subscribe to every article produced by its own faculty. That's a great irony. You have a question?
Yes, this is a question to Ian. That you were given a chance to choose the best e-learning platform, do you prefer would still be Moodle? I'm sure you're fully aware of the
No, of course it would be Moodle. How come you chose Moodle? It is a fantastic platform, and it is a very, very good and well-informed choice. Look, I think learning management systems are much of a muchness. Generally, they have the same range of functionality, the same affordances. If you looked at Blackboard, you looked at Moodle, are the differences between them so significant that it's going to impact in any major way on teaching and learning? No, not really. I would ask a different question about what would I do with teaching and learning, I think.
Okay, that's another question.
Yeah.
Suppose you're Superman, you can make the best use of Moodle. How can you make Moodle in such a way to adapt it to support the student development process as suggested by Chicken and Wright, the 7 vectors, which Joyce could help answer this question?
Well, I would go back, in my ideal world, and I have had a bit of this. I was at Auckland for 7 years where I was director of a learning technology unit in the Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences. So by about the 5th and 6th year, we really had people on board, and this would talk about your gap, the adoption curve. We'd kind of got over that point, so we'd get people coming with whole programs, master's programs, saying, okay, we just want to restart from the beginning again, this is not good. And so, I mean, it just goes back to basic pedagogy. What is your philosophy of teaching? What are your teaching approaches in here? And when you get to the technology, it's kind of what are your strategies? Like what kind of content do you want to put up there? Why do you want to put it up there? How are the students going to interact with it? How are they going to interact with one another around that content? Why is that going to be a deep and meaningful learning experience for them? And then you get down to the very last level of tactics, because we all know that students don't do what we would like them to do, even though it's very, very good for them. So, you're at the cold face there about what goes on every day inside Moodle to try and get those students engaged in the kind of learning that we want to engage them with. And I think the other thing I'd say there is, for Hong Kong U at the moment, it is Moodle, right? A lot of the focus around at a strategic and operational level is Moodle. What are the recording statistics? How many active courses? I'm talking about this tomorrow. It tells you nothing about quality in teaching and learning. But I also think we can move outside of Moodle and look at a range of other technologies that we could use. But again, going back to teaching and learning, I'd still hold my point. I think that these two things now need to be considered, at least in tandem. How do we keep both of these things in mind, and how do we start again from the teaching and learning approach, technology enabled.
How do you justify whether it's good enough for students?
Sorry, can I stop you there? Just because I know there's lots of questions. We've got only time for one more question, but I'm sorry to cut you short, but hopefully in the coffee break there'll be opportunities for you individually to grill our panel members more. But the last question, David. Yes,
Yeah.
quickly.
Well, it's a discussion type question. The subject of Wikipedia came up a couple of times. Now, Wikipedia is coming for a certain amount of criticism from academics, some of which is fair enough, because some of the context not authoritative, some of it's inaccurate. My own feeling is that Wikipedia is Web 2. Everybody's got the potential to roll up their sleeves and make it better. That's the whole point of this. And it strikes me as very odd that academics choose to criticize it or discredit it instead of contributing to it. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Can I echo on what you said? Exactly. That's why we need to have an open textbook system. Now, what I'll propose is not to just say things like general OER, general open educational resources, but textbooks, open textbooks, OT, not OER. The situation is that textbooks are student-focused or learning resource, learning environment that we provide to students these days. And in a lot of situations, students are unable to make changes to the books that they have. It's printed, it's cast on film. Now, cast on film, printed on paper. So they can't make changes to it until they bought the book and they make additional spare pages, additional pages. What if teachers are given the privilege of making changes to it according to student needs and so forth, according to their own teaching style? I think that's exactly something that we should do. And Hong Kong's a sort of situation where we can actually do that, and this is happening. I'm glad to say.
Great, I think that's it. I'm very conscious of the time, and I don't want to keep you separate from your coffee. But
David, yes. There's the short answer. Yeah, they should review it and they should contribute to it.